Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Well, we got your attention with that fire alarm, didn't we? Oh, my goodness. This event tonight is hot, hot, hot. It's all good, though. For those of you who are here, we want to welcome you back. And for those of you at home, welcome to the Living the Dream dinner and the 150th anniversary celebration. Before we go into the program tonight, I'd like to thank tonight's staff at the Seaport Hotel for such a great job. Let's give them a round of applause. Now, if you are joining us virtually, we'd like you to connect with us via chat. It's a great way to comment on tonight's event, and who knows, you might even discover an old school chum. Now, I've had the chance to get to know the Sisters of St. Joseph over the years, and if you all are like me, I seem to think that they all look exactly the same as they did when this dinner started 10 years ago. Isn't that right, sisters? Yay! The sisters continue to be passionate about reaching out to those that they call the dear neighbor without distinction. That includes our neighbors, immigrants in need of assistance and education, people on the fringes, all who the sisters have educated through the years, and all who are searching for spirituality and support. I want to take a moment to thank all of the sisters, both those watching virtually and those in the room tonight, for all that they have done for so many during these 150 years in Boston. Now, I'd like to ask the sisters in the room to stand and be recognized. Excellent, excellent. Now, there may be something that many of you may not know about our next speaker. She was an avid golfer and once considered going pro. Yeah. Now, she must have been a really great golfer if she was considering going pro. I'm proud to introduce you to the president of the Sisters of St. Joseph, but wait a minute. I think her parents had some inspiration. Lee Elder and Ben Hogan, Sister Lee Hogan.
The operative word there is was golfer. As Jack Nicklaus has said, my golf game has left me. So, good evening, friends. Welcome to all who are here in the hall and to all of our virtual audience of family and friends. Welcome to this wonderful celebration of 150 years of presence and service in the Archdiocese of Boston and beyond. Tonight, we celebrate our historic and much appreciated past, our lively presence, and our hope-filled future. As the saying goes, for all that has been, we say thanks, and for all that will be, yes. Thank you for your presence with us this evening, and a very special thank you to Joe Nolan for accepting our invitation to receive the Dear Neighbor Award this year. Thank you, Joe. The funds raised this evening at this event will be a significant assistance to us as we continue our various ministry works and also provide for our elder sisters. We are most grateful for all of your generous support. Since 1873, when Annie Casserly more commonly known as Mother Regis Casserly, plus 3 other sisters arrived in Boston from New York to open a parish school. Since that time, we have been reaching out to the dear neighbor. As times have changed, needs have arisen that have brought us to new opportunities for ministry. I hope that you had an opportunity to look at the large posters outside during the reception. They offer a few snapshots of how sisters have been about ministry over these 150 years. Mainly, they covered the early decades. In just a few minutes, there will be a short video in which you will see and hear of some ways in which sisters today have ministered over most of the recent 50, 60, or even 70 years past. Some sisters you will recognize, perhaps a former teacher or a parish minister, many possibilities. Our sisters continue to minister in formal education settings, from elementary school right through college. As many sisters in active ministry, including retired sisters who are volunteering, they are responding to many of the needs of the current day. They are teaching English to new peoples, preparing people for exams in citizenship, assisting in the resettlement of refugee families, working to combat human trafficking through peace vigils and education programs, both in schools and in local community groups, women's support programs, outreach efforts for justice and peace, spiritual outreach and retreat programs, supporting the work of Catholic charities and other agencies. There are just so many beyond that we don't have time to mention here. But there is so much that your support of this event enables us to continue doing as we reach out to the dear neighbor. Tonight, there are dozens of sisters present, perhaps some at your table. Each one would be happy to tell you how she is engaged in ministry to the dear neighbor in these days. As we continue on with our ministries, you are our partners, our silent partners in this work, as well as in the care of our elder retired sisters. And you are the recipients of many daily prayers by the sisters. From our earliest days as members of the congregation, we learned the importance of such supporters as you are, and as your predecessors have been, to the works of our ministry for 150 years. You and they have been our silent partners, enabling the sisters to do the work, the ministry of serving the people of God, and helping to build the church in this diocese and in so many other places. So tonight, we pray that our gracious and generous God will shower an abundance of blessings upon you, your families, and your own life's work. In the name of all the Sisters of St. Joseph, I express our immense gratitude for your generous partnering with us. Thank you. And we can now turn to that video that I mentioned, in which several sisters will share a bit of their stories and lives as Sisters of St. Joseph. The video is introduced on screen by Mary Ann Jordan, who herself received the Dear Neighbor Award in 2021. So sit back and enjoy about a 10 or 12-minute video and meet some of your perhaps old friends, former teachers, or new friends. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Mary Ann Jordan, a member of the Living the Dream Committee, and I am proud to introduce 12 Sisters of St. Joseph. These are ordinary women in whom love flares today as it flared in Mother Regis, and our first sisters and those whose lives they touched 150 years ago. This allowed them to do ordinary things in extraordinary ways, and it flares in you today, our friends and co-workers.
First, let me begin by saying that being a Sister of St. Joseph has been the right life choice for me. And being involved in the ministry of spirituality, in spiritual direction and retreat work, even in the midst of being involved in some other ministries, has been indeed a blessing. I have been humbled to companion returning missionaries, those who are seeking healing, people who are desirous of discerning their future and finding out where God is inviting them, and more recently, and quite excitedly, to be involved with young adults who very much are seeking spirituality in their life. I would say that our CSJ Ministry of Spirituality is definitely about unifying love.
During my life as a Sister of St. Joseph, it has been a gift to be an educator of young children, and later to serve as a volunteer in retirement to holding and comforting newborn babies at Franciscan Hospital, as well as ministering in the oncology department and other units as needed.
Various short and long-term ministry opportunities during my 59 years as a Sister of St. Joseph of Boston have introduced me to diverse peoples, cultures, ideas, and places in Boston, New Mexico, Eastern North Carolina, Haiti, and Kentucky. I am so enriched and grateful for these experiences.
I was always musical, and growing up in an Irish family, music was always a part of family gatherings. I learned to sing and play guitar at a young age. The Sisters of St. Joseph encouraged me to share my gift of music. Several years ago, I was able to perform in a professional company in a Boston performance of Nonsense. I performed the song The Rose and came to understand how difficult it is to participate in 8 performances in 1 week. It was fun and memorable. I'm grateful to the Sisters of St. Joseph for ongoing support and encouragement for the gift of music.
I am the Sisters of St. Joseph of Boston, and I am so enjoying celebrating these 150 years. Yes, like the early sisters, I began my ministry as a teacher, responding to the needs of the time. Then we, the Sisters of St. Joseph, heard the call of Vatican II to send members to third world countries. And as a result, and as a gift, I spent 7 years in Peru as a missionary. Then it was time to return to New England to answer the call to walk with newly arrived immigrants. And I am called to enflesh the spirit of Mother Regis Casserly, ministering at Casserly Neighborhood House. Thank you, each of you and all of you who have been with us in this journey.
I spent several years at Cathedral High School, where my understanding of the CSJ ministry was greatly expanded by the sisters I lived with and worked with. Sisters who responded generously to the call of the gospel. Sisters Bonavita, Lumina, Eustace, Margaret Gabbley, and others who made sure that our neighbors, so many of whom were poor and underprivileged, received not only a good education, but also whatever they lacked by way of housing, food, and clothing. They remain an inspiration to every Sister of St. Joseph.
I entered in 1958. I taught in the Archdiocese, did parish ministry, was on the leadership team, and presently am the administrator of St. Joseph Hall, a retirement home for our sisters. The sisters are retired from active ministry, but are still very active. They are very interested in current events in the community and outside. They have a great social life in the house and outside with their friends. While they have organized social and fun activities, they have also actively pursued the development of their spiritual needs with prayer services, speakers, and other activities organized by them. I find them wisdom figures as I watch them live out our charism every day. They are a gift in my life, and I am privileged to be here with them.
As a fifth grader, I joined our school choir. The director was a sister of St. Joseph, a kind listener and learner, a deeply spiritual woman. She lived our charism and was a role model for me. In the mid-60s, I joined the CSJ chorus and am now its director. When I hear all of us singing, I hear voices of courage, joy, hope, and possibility. I pray that all of us remain open to receiving with reverence whatever God has for us, knowing that we journey together, listening for whatever melody God is calling us to sing.
Before my current ministry as Director of Communications for the Sisters of St. Joseph, I was a high school campus minister for 20 years. Some of the most profound moments as a campus minister happened during week-long immersion retreats with students to Mexico and Ecuador. During these retreats, Unifying Love Flared. It was an opportunity for us to learn the reality of deep poverty, listen to personal stories, and witness the profound faith of the people, which in turn inflamed our faith. It was a grace-filled experience of connecting neighbor with neighbor, neighbor with God, and with one another.
I'd like to share a fond memory from my formation years in Framingham. It was 1966. The Fathers Club dreamed of building a swimming pool for us. They included the needs of all, even non-swimmers to sisters in wheelchairs. By April of '67, they found the resources they needed, so much of it generously donated. We were swimming by mid-July. Now, 56 years later, the pool is gone, but to further our mission today, we still rely with gratitude on the generosity of you, our friends.
I have loved every ministry that I have had for the past 47 years as a Sister of St. Joseph. Teacher and administrator at Aquinas College at Newton, delegate for religious in the Archdiocese of Boston, and member of the CSJ leadership team. My time at Aquinas holds a special place in my heart. It was my first assignment. I loved the students. They were awesome. Aquinas was a small school with a great sense of community. My greatest joy is to meet past students who remember their teachers so fondly and credit their success in life to the values and skills they learned there. As an aside, we have several Aquinas graduates working here at the Mother House, and they are awesome.
I entered the CSJ community in 1952. At that time, I was the second oldest of 11 children. In 1959, I was transferred to the Boston School for the Deaf, where I taught aphasic children who did not have any language and could not speak. It was a joy to see them begin to speak and use the right language. While I was at Sacred Heart in Roslindale, my mother had surgery, so I went home to Forest Hills to visit her. After I entered, my mother had another child, Mary Teresa, who was then in first grade when I visited. She was reading to me so I could see how well she could read. I interrupted her and said, "Mom, you have new wallpaper." Mary Teresa stopped reading and said, "How do you know we have new wallpaper?" I replied, "Because I lived here." She said, "You did not." "Yes, I did." "Well, I never saw you." On visiting days, she questioned me when I called my mother Mom and my father Dad. I told her they were my parents too. "They are not." At that, we would all laugh.
We are delighted to be celebrating 150 years of presence here in Boston. And we are profoundly grateful for your support over the years. And we trust that you will be with us as we journey forth into the future. Thank you.
These women are inspiring. They all look forward to identifying and meeting new challenges every day. And with your help, I am sure they will, because unifying love flares in you.
What a beautiful video. And what a beautiful her story, not history, her story of the Sisters of St. Joseph. Now I'd like to bring up our guest speaker, Beth Sheehan. Beth is going to tell you a little bit more about her story, but she is a woman whose life has intersected with the Sisters of St. Joseph since her elementary education, continuing through college, and then her long teaching career. To say she's been a product of the Sisters of St. Joseph is really an understatement. Please join me in welcoming Beth Sheehan to the stage.
Good evening. Congratulations to the Sisters of St. Joseph on their 150 years in Boston. I am so honored to be here with you tonight to celebrate their monumental presence in Boston and in my life as well, and as of many here tonight. It is truly a privilege to be able to speak here. Unifying Love Flares is the 150th anniversary theme of the CSJs. When I think of the word flare, I think of three images. A small flame that flares into a roaring fire. Then I think of a flare as a burning fire shot into the night because there is someone in need of aid. Finally, when I think of flare, I also think of the song by Alicia Keys, This Girl Is on Fire, where I would swap out the word girl for sisters, and then we would have, these Sisters of St. Joseph are on fire. And I say this because whatever the sisters take on, they do so with an insatiable energy and a drive to accomplish whatever they set their minds to, with that fire in their hearts and their minds. 150 years ago, the sisters came to Boston because there was a need, and the sisters came with unifying love, flaring and ready to share. Throughout different times in my life and on my faith journey, this unifying love has flared. Sisters of St. Joseph, the Associates, and the Agrégés were there and still are, sharing their spiritual journey in unifying love with me. My faith journey began with this unifying love flaring at home with my parents. Their faith was evident in their words and actions. My mother was raised in a home where her Catholic faith was central to all things. There was a saint for everything, especially St. Anthony, and she continually imparted her wisdom of all things Catholic and the love of God to all of us, her children. Her words mirrored her actions. I absorbed all of her wisdom and still carry all that she imparted on me daily. My dad's faith journey was a quieter one. His actions also showed us his love of God. He would speak of his faith when we needed answers to the mysteries of life. His faith was so strong. When he spoke of God, I remember it as profound. His simple explanations answered all my questions and also began my understanding of God's plan for me. I believe that God has a plan for each of us. My early school years were met with anxiety, and Sister Marilyn McGregor, the principal when I was in the younger grades at St. Agatha School, helped me get through a very tough year. She had such a kind and gentle way of being with me. She knew exactly what to do with my worried little mind. Her ideas were way ahead of her time. When Sister Marilyn left St. Agatha's, she took those ideas to Regis, where we met again, with myself as a student and she as my professor in the education department. Regis was one of the places where I felt completely at home. Sister Zita was the dean of students, and I saw her most days as I completed my cleaning tasks for my on-campus job. When I entered her office, she would greet me with, "Hello, sunshine," and I would leave with a smile on my face. At Regis, you were noticed when you were in class and when you were not in class. That made a difference. Sister Joan Duffy, Sister Judy Costello, Sister Zita, and so many more sisters made an impression and a difference in my life. A year after graduating, I found myself interviewing for a grade 2 position at St. Angela's School in Mattapan. I really knew nothing about Mattapan, except it had a bus and a trolley station. It was there that I taught along with sisters of different congregations: the Dominican sisters, Sisters of the Holy Union, Franciscan sisters, and of course, the Sisters of St. Joseph. When Sister Gail Donahue came on as principal, she saw each individual teacher as special. She loved the students and the teachers, and she was always there for families and staff. She would remind the children and the staff of God's love and his plan for us. Her wisdom was always on point. She often let me know that God had a plan and would provide evidence of it. Her laughter was infectious and made our school a very happy place. Her leadership was a great example that I aspire to attain. When Sister Mary Teresa O'Reilly came to work at St. Angela's, I absorbed her unique ways of teaching and her peaceful way of being with the children and faculty. You could see her faith in all she did. It was because of her invitation to come and see the CSJ Associate Program that led me here today at this very minute. Little did I know that this invitation would change the trajectory of my faith life. It magnified and strengthened my faith in God, faith in His plan, and faith in myself as a disciple of Jesus. How often are we searching for that one place, that one group, where we know deep down that it is here that I find God? I found it in the CSJ Associate Program. Gatherings with the associates and sisters were and are filled with prayer, reflection, and group sharing. Being with men and women who want to enhance and embrace their relationship with God is something that is not easy to find. It is with the sisters and the associates where I feel renewed and welcomed each time we gather. It was here in the associate program that I was asked to take on different tasks which nudged me to use gifts that I didn't realize I had. Writing for the CSJ newsletter, The More, as well as being nominated and accepting a leadership position for the associate program, I began to see in myself what others saw in me. My relationship with sisters, associates, and agrégés have blossomed, many whom I call friends and family. I also found and continue to find God in my teaching. For the past 35 years, I have been teaching at St. Angela's in Mattapan, St. John Paul II Catholic Academy, Mattapan campus, and now St. John Paul Lower Mills campus. God is ever present in the faces of my children. It is here where I am completely myself. I love being able to bring God into every part of the school day. My classroom for several years has had a prayer tree where we place people who are in need of prayers. Some of the people we know, some we don't. I am planting seeds there, not knowing where it will lead, but plant I do, every single day. I love my job. I know that God has placed me at different times in those places that needed me the most. Am I successful every day? Not always. As I tell my students, I am so glad that the sun will rise again tomorrow because God is giving me another chance to be better, to do better. 150 years in Boston is a remarkable achievement for the congregation of the Sisters of St. Joseph. What is even more remarkable is the permanent impression on my heart over the years. At different times in my life, God placed the sisters there when I needed them. Of course, I didn't see it then, but I do see it now. I know my story is one of thousands of people whose lives were indelibly touched by Unifying Love Flaring in the lives of the sisters. I was a spark, and the sisters and associates made it a roaring fire with the love of God and the dear neighbor. Thank you, sisters, associates, and aggregates for being that flare of love, lighting the way for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth, for sharing beautifully how the Sisters of St. Joseph have impacted your life. Thank you. Next, another sister who may need no introduction. I know that to be true for our honoree, Sister Gail Donahue. Please join me on stage to present the Dear Neighbor Award. And I'd like to also welcome back Sister Lee to join in the presentation.
That's my Joe. I first met Joe Nolan at the 8 o'clock Mass at St. Mary's Chapel at Boston College. He would sit in the same bench with Jack Connors and Tina Grant. As a daily communicant, Joe presented himself to God in prayer, saying his rosary as a dedicated husband, father, and professional executive, now the CEO of Eversource Energy. Joe's unremarkable voice is well known. His bellowing sound is heard welcoming, encouraging, and often inquiring about the welfare of each person to whom he speaks. If Joe could help, he always offered and was there to do so. Along with Joe's voice, his smile always made an impression. We, the Sisters of St. Joseph, are honoring Joe Nolan tonight because Joe embodies what we as Sisters of St. Joseph are striving to live, our charism, one of unifying love, hospitality, inclusivity, and loving service to the dear neighbor, reconciling neighbor with neighbor and neighbor with God, all of which flows from a deep prayerful relationship with us and God. Now, the entire above-mentioned qualities, these are earmarks of Joe Nolan. Now, I'm not saying Joe is a saintly person, but I am saying Joe Nolan is a man who is acting like a saint. He is a man who loves God with his whole heart and shares this joy and his talents with others. So, as we celebrate our 150th years of presence in the Archdiocese of Boston, I am honored as a Sister of St. Joseph with Sister Lee Hogan, our president, to present now the Dear Neighbor Award to Mr. Joseph R. Nolan, Jr.
I'll come right over here. All right.
Get in between two flowers.
Exactly, huh? Oh, here he is, the photographer for the stars. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Keep an eye on Jack. Keep an eye on my brother over there, Jim. My brother, first one sister texted, told me to be brief. My brother texted and wanted to know where all of the habits are of the nuns. He's been living a very, very sheltered life. So, listen, thank you, Sister Gail. I'm honored to be here to receive this wonderful recognition. This truly means a lot to me and to my family. I'm also pleased to see many people here at this celebration tonight. Together with our Gala Committee, led by co-chairs Jack and Eileen Connors, and my wingman, Chief Jim Hunt, we've set a new record of over $1 million to support the Sisters of St. Joseph. An amazing number. Thank you, all of you, for supporting this dinner tonight and your generosity to help the sisters work on their mission. I'm very, very grateful to you, so thank you. You know, I have a confession to make tonight right at the start of my remarks. You know, when I was a small boy, growing up in Presentation Parish in Brighton, my family lived across the street from the convent. And on weekends, when the sisters were washing their cars or doing yard work, I would run across the street and I would pull the habits off their head. And that may be one of the reasons why the sisters don't wear habits anymore, Leonard. You know, I know this probably comes as a surprise to many of you, but, you know, I was a rather mischievous young boy, and I put those poor nuns through a great deal. They certainly got their steps in chasing little Joey Nolan around the Presentation Parish. You know, and I've been atoning for my sins since childhood. And that's why you'll often find me with Jack Connors and Sister Mary Black and Sister Gail at St. Mary's at Boston College at 8 o'clock in the morning, atoning for my sins. So, you know, to be honored by the sisters tonight is very, very special to me. And I guess you could say I'm living proof that miracles do happen. Tonight's theme of living the dream, you know, and you could really say that we are all living the dream. Like you, I believe that we all are put on earth for a reason. Created in His likeness, we are expected to be the best selves and do so good. You know, but we did not get to this place alone. Guided by my family and the faith, I had so much help along the way. You know, my parents raised me and my 6 older siblings to be people of strong faith, to be thankful for God's countless blessings, and to never forget that for whom much is given, much is expected. Think about how much the Sisters of St. Joseph have given to the Boston community over the 150 years, and to so many in this room who have benefited from the work the sisters have done supporting the church. How many of us have been fortunate to have a teacher, a nun, a priest, make a lasting impact on our life? You know, in my early days, I had amazing teachers who inspired me to study hard, learn, and grow. They guided me on the right path. As I prepared for this event, you know, I look back on my younger days, and I reached out to 2 of my earliest teachers, Sister Mary Lou O'Neill and Sister Paula Tinlin, my first and second grade teachers at Our Lady of the Presentation School, Sisters of Notre Dame. You know, they were the first educators who helped shape me, and I know they made a positive difference for countless other children as well. Unfortunately, Mary Lou and Sister Paula could not be here in person tonight. Wouldn't you know that at age 80, Sister Paula is leading a 2-day retreat for the Sisters of Notre Dame. She answers to a higher calling for sure. You know, I was happy to reconnect with them and to thank them for their patience and commitment. I told them I appreciated the support they gave me and so many others like me. You know, I wanted to be sure that these women knew that the mischief boy that was in their classroom and grew up and made something of himself, and that they have made a lasting impression on my life. You know, as I've grown into adulthood, I've been blessed with a wonderful family myself, including my wife, Therese, who's right here with me, and two of my 4 brilliant and beautiful daughters, who've got Isabel and Hannah, are here with me. I was fortunate to get a job with a great company that offered me plenty of opportunity for advancement. And today I am fortunate to be the Chairman, President, and CEO of Eversource. I lead a diverse... Half of our vendors and our employees are here tonight to fill the room, and I want to thank them as well. But in addition to all of them, I have 9,600 people that are highly skilled and diverse and are committed to delivering great service for our over 4 million customers in the energy industry. Along the way, my faith has always been very important to me. So has serving the community. Those are the pillars of who I am. That's why I support the wonderful work of the Sisters of St. Joseph. 150 years ago, when Catholic children were not welcome in public schools of Boston, the sisters provided them with a valuable education. Thankfully, we live in a different time now, but there are still so many urgent needs in our community. Today, you can find the sisters in many service ministries within the Archdiocese of Boston. They are making a positive impact in places like schools, immigrant detention centers, prisons, adult literacy programs, and neighborhood outreach programs. Their hard work and unifying love give people the chance to live their dreams. I'm proud to support these selfless women who have dedicated their lives to sharing God's love by helping those in need. And I am humbled that they chose to honor me with the Dear Neighbor Award during their special celebration. I just hope that my confession about my wayward childhood does not make them have second thoughts about this award. Thank you, all of you, and God bless.
Congratulations to Joe Nolan. Now, wait a minute. Sister, did you say Joe Nolan and Jack Connors together? That required a lot of patience, didn't it? Oh, my goodness gracious. I'd like to ask Sister Gail to come back to the stage for some final remarks.
Well, I've been asked to come back because I just want to tell you how proud I am to be a Sister of St. Joseph. I'm in my 66th year as a Sister of St. Joseph. And as we heard Beth and Joe talk about how God has guided their lives, informed them, gave them a plan, so I feel that's what has happened to me. And I hope you appreciate, and I know you do because you're sitting here very calmly and smiling. You know what the Sisters of St. Joseph have done in the past. And tonight, you found out what the Sisters of St. Joseph are doing now. We might be small in number, but we're powerful women. We're prayerful women. We're women that see what's going on in the world, and we want to change that. And with God's help and your support, this is being done. One of the things that we do in our community is we pray. We pray now in small groups. We pray individually. But we also pray as a community. And each year you've seen me come up here and talk to you about a special hymn that we sing. It's to our patron, St. Joseph. St. Joseph was a man who was very quiet, but he did marvelous things. And in our lives as Sisters of St. Joseph, we've seen St. Joseph do that for us. His mother, St. John Fontbonne, our founder, said, "We do extraordinary things in ordinary ways." And so I'd like to close this program tonight and ask each Sister of St. Joseph to please stand so that we may honor you with a hymn that we use in our congregation for many occasions. It's a prayer that as we sing it, we look to Joseph, who is our model, who is our guide, and who loves us and takes care of us in the arms of Mary and the Son Jesus. So may I ask all the Sisters of St. Joseph to please stand. And may I ask, and you saw Barbara McHugh on the film, so we're going to ask Barbara's our soloist, so she can start us. Sancte Joseph, Sancte Joseph, Sancte Joseph, ora pro nobis, nunc et in hora mortis, nunc et in hora mortis, Sancte Joseph, ora pro nobis. Thank you.
We've heard so much about the great work of the Sisters of St. Joseph this evening. There are envelopes on your table if you would like to make a gift. We want to thank all of you for coming, celebrating such a special evening with us. We want you to travel safely, be well, and continue to reach out faithfully to your dear neighbor. Good night.